Hey y'all, welcome to a best of edition of the Flipped Lifestyle Podcast. These best of editions of the show feature amazing guests and episodes of the podcast you may have missed when they first aired. If you are new to the show, these are those can't miss episodes we really want you to listen to. Or maybe you're a long-time listener. We want to bring these episodes back around for you to enjoy again. Our goal is to bring you our best content every week so you have everything that you need to build a better future for your family. So wherever you are listening today, enjoy this week's best of edition of the Flip Lifestyle Podcast.
Hey y'all, on today's podcast, we help Ed take his healthcare community to the next level.
Welcome to the Flip Lifestyle Podcast, where life always comes before work. We're your hosts, Shane and Jocelyn Sams. Join us each week as we teach you how to flip your lifestyle upside down by selling stuff online. Are you ready for something different? All right, let's get started.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Flip Lifestyle Podcast. It is great to be back with you again this week. If you're new to the show, welcome. We're so glad that you tuned in. Our podcast, you will notice immediately, is a little bit different. We don't bring on gurus or people promoting their latest book or product. No, we bring on real members of our Flip Your Life coaching community, real people out there in the real world trying to start a business online or trying to take it to the next level. And we answer their questions on air to help them get to the next level. And then we let everybody listen in so that everyone can benefit from the discussion. We are super excited to have our guest today, Flip Your Life community member, Ed Alzenbergs. And I've been practicing that one. Ed, welcome to the show, man.
Thanks, Shane. Thanks, Jocelyn. I'm really psyched to be here with you.
All right. Awesome. We are happy to have you here today. When we talk to our guests, we'd like to know, first of all, a little bit about you, your background, and what are you doing online?
So I'm married for 27 years to my wife, Susan, and we have two phenomenal kids. Gabrielle is a junior in college. She's attending the U.S. Coast Guard Academy, which is where I went to school. And Nathaniel is entering as a freshman or a plebe at the U.S. Naval Academy next week on June 30th. So we've got an empty nest coming up in July here. And I have a busy full-time job at a medical device company near Boston. So, and also Susan and I both turned 50 this year. So I call it halftime and ready to run out of the locker room for a big second half. So we're ready.
That is an awesome perspective on that.
All right, Ed. And another thing that we like to ask at the beginning of our show is, why? We like to start with why in everything that we do. So tell us, why do you want to flip your life with online business?
Yeah, I've been thinking a lot about that, especially since it was 2013. So almost 3 years ago, I retired from the Coast Guard after 29 years. And in the last 14 of those years, I was a part-time reservist. And I've always had the entrepreneurial kind of bug, but I was waiting for the right opportunity. And so I feel like with this online business, online education and support, we've definitely found it. And especially nowadays with mentors like both of you, I think the risk profile is right, because I definitely didn't want to put our mortgage at risk and things like that. So bottom line, I want to work and travel with my wife and keep bugging our kids by visiting them wherever their adventures take them.
That's awesome. That is a great why. It's so funny. Like, we have so many different people in the Flip Your Life community. Like you said, you've got your kids are kind of going off and you want to follow them. We've got people with, some people come on the show and they're like, oh, I've got a newborn baby and I want to spend more time with them. And it's just amazing how in the world we live in today, online business can make all that stuff possible.
Exactly.
Ed, you had mentioned something about a medical device company. Let's get back into your online business now and talk about what you're doing online and what you're going to try to build online to give you that lifestyle where you can go bug your kids and you and your wife can travel and things like that. What are you doing online now? Where are you at in your journey? Do you have anything for sale, or are you just starting out? Let our listeners know what's going on with your online business.
Yeah, sure. So I chose type 2 diabetes as our niche to focus on because I work at a company where we take care of people who have kidney failure and are on kidney dialysis. Okay. And so half of our patients came through the diabetes disease state. And so believe it or not, there's 30 million people today with type 2 diabetes. and 1,000 per week in the U.S. start kidney dialysis because their kidneys fail, and 1,000 per week get lower limb amputations.
Wow.
So to be able to have an impact on that will just give us, a lot of feeling of doing something meaningful. So we're at the start of this business. We're pretty much in the first month of traffic building, but I've put together this foundation of, getting the website and getting the podcast ready. Our first products will be a 7-day roadmap to get on the right track, and then a 21-day program with bonus content. We've got a blog and a homepage at commutavi.com, which translates to transformation and life, and it's spelled COMMUTAVIE.
Okay.
And I recently started a podcast called Transformation Cast, and we've got 3 episodes, and of course we'll be growing that in the next couple of months. And this summer we'll invite new members into a membership site with the Zenforo Forum. Okay. So as I mentioned, we're kind of in the first month of traffic building and outreach. I do not have type 2 diabetes, but some of our family members do.
Right. And you have chops, though, because you've worked in this industry. You are expert enough in this because you've worked in a company. You've seen this from the inside out. This Transformation Cast, all of this is revolved around the type 2 diabetes, right?
Correct. And the way I see it, it's like we're not doctors, so we can't prescribe. And we'll make sure that we make that clear in all of our content,
Sure.
text and audio, et cetera. But I believe that we can help people to structure their day, to create time to thrive by deprioritizing certain things and prioritizing others, and reduce the stress while following a personalized blood sugar management plan that is prescribed and approved by their doctor.
So basically, this is more just dealing with the fact that you've got diabetes. This is like a support community for these people. Hey, you're on the medicine. Hey, maybe you are starting dialysis. Hey, maybe you are doing this. Come together with a bunch of people who know what they're talking about, who've been there, who've done that, who've seen it from the medical side, who've seen it from they've actually got type 2 diabetes. This is more of a transforming your life to where you're not like, oh my gosh, I've got diabetes. It's more like, I've got this. I'm going to deal with it and still have a great life, basically.
Exactly. We've found a number of folks who are thriving despite having type 2. And so we're just looking to bring folks who might feel overwhelmed or confused by all the information out there, simplify it for them, get them in touch with folks who are thriving, and get them in touch with the certified diabetes educators and dietitians and doctors who are, online.
A lot of times in any medical problem, that is lacking. That's the part that lacks. You can go to an expert. You can get medicine. You can get the surgery. You can get whatever you need, but then you still have to go home by yourself.
Right.
And it's awesome that you'll be not only providing expertise in something where you've been in the industry, but you're going to create that community. That's kind of what Flip Your Life is in a lot of ways.
Exactly.
Everybody's in a different spot. And Jocelyn and I are always in there telling people what to do next. But really, it's just, man, I am not alone. I got somewhere to go, and there's people there for me. And if I need something, I can at least hash it out, vent, or figure out what to do next. And I think you're doing the same thing here with this niche. Yeah,
the parallel is we've got a goal, we've got a result that we're after, and it's not medical in the case with Flipped Lifestyle, but it's a big important goal, and it requires some transformation and mindset. So
cool, awesome stuff.
Definitely. All right, well, let's jump into your question. What are you struggling with right now? What is the biggest obstacle that you're trying to overcome to move this thing forward?
Yeah, as I mentioned, I'm just starting with outreach, and pretty much in terms of my career, I'm just starting to sell something for the first time after being in, the safe corporate or safe kind of military environment when you're not out there individually trying to promote and sell something. So it's a challenge that I kind of relish because I know it's going to take us to the next level in terms of our own individual lives. But the areas where I'm specifically talking about right now are like outreach to influencers. So my first question is, I'd like to hear your thoughts about the perspective of an influencer when I contact him or her and ask them to join me on a new podcast or whatever. Like, what are most of them thinking and asking themselves? Because I'm eager to help their community by co-creating some valuable content, but I'm wondering how to say that in a cold email. I mean, sometimes I will have joined their email list, but not every time.
Yeah. I think the biggest thing is number one, I would tell everybody this, you just have to ask. Like, don't overthink it, because in a lot of ways it will be a numbers game, and you're going to have to like build like smaller influencers to get the bigger influencers. You know what I mean? So like putting yourselves in situations where you can meet people publicly, like that's how Jocelyn and I got to be with so many influencers and on their podcasts and do all these different shows and Forbes articles and things like that, is because we leave the confines of our house. We go to where the influencers are and we hang out with them. You know, we put ourselves in, we go to conferences. We try to find small private gatherings where we know that we can even buy your way in. You know, so, you know, these high-end masterminds. People are like, I can't believe anyone would spend $3,000-$4,000 to go to a live event. We've done that over and over again because it puts you in with other people. Speaking engagements. Listen, if you can go speak somewhere, the biggest advantage of speaking about this topic, you know, at a conference or anything else, would be you're backstage with the other speakers. Well, guess where the influencers are? A lot of times they're on stage. So I think that it's a numbers game, and you've got to just say, I'm just going to go out and ask and not overthink this first, and then those things will come in. How do you think that he should approach this from like what people are thinking, Jocelyn?
Yeah, I think that with the cold email strategy, and certainly you can do that, it's not going to be as effective as if you go and meet these people in person. But if you're going that route, I think that it's important that you let them know what's in it for them, how you're going to benefit them, and you know what benefit the relationship has to them, because these people probably get a lot of requests. We certainly get a lot of requests to do this or to do that, and you know, without having a lot of people so far, it's going to be a little bit hard to do that. So I would recommend maybe trying to find someone that you do have a personal relationship with, try to get them involved, and then you can go to other people and say, hey, look, these people were on my podcast. Would you be interested? I know that works for us. We had somebody recently email us and say, hey, we had this influencer recently on our show. Would you also like to be on our show?
Yeah.
And I at least gave it a second thought because of that.
Yeah. It's kind of like a domino effect, Ed. Whenever you're trying to grow a brand, and listen, that is part of the game. You've got to run with the big dogs. You've got to figure out how you can get in the right circles. The biggest point is just start asking. Don't turn anybody down. Find everybody. You know, there's other people that are just ahead of you that would love the opportunity to be on a new podcast, just to get some experience and get their name out there. And then that'll put you up with other people as well.
So I've got 3 episodes now. I'll just keep doing what I'm doing, because the first 3 were Gabrielle from Australia and Allie from Houston, and then Kevin from my town where he and I coached lacrosse together. So I'll keep that kind of blend going.
Listen, when I started my first podcast, when we first started doing this, I started a podcast for football coaches, because there was only 1 or 2 out there. And it took off really well. But look, this is no lie. My first episode was me by myself. The second episode was a buddy of mine who coached 8-year-olds in football down the street in the youth league. And then I got a high school coach. And then all of a sudden I got a guy named, what was his name? Josh Welburn, I think is his name. He's one of the biggest NFL guys, CrossFit guys on the planet. Then I got Hal Mummy. Then I started getting all these famous coaches on my podcast, and it just spiraled out of control. And it went from like the youth guy that I sit in church with in Sunday school to Hal Mummy, a legend of the game, like within like 3 months. So just keep building it brick by brick, and don't get in a hurry. Eventually you're going to hit the one domino that's going to topple everybody else and get you into that influencer circle.
And when you do start getting those bigger names onto your podcast, ask them, who might you recommend to be on my podcast in the future?
Yep.
And they might be able to help you to get to know other people in that space. So there are definitely a lot of different strategies that you can use, but you know, definitely the one that I think is the most impactful is if you can meet people in person.
Yep. Okay.
Right.
That was a great question. I think that's the first time we've really addressed how to contact influencers on the show. So I'm really glad you asked that. I think a lot of people are going to get a lot of benefit out of that question. Let's go on. We got some time here. Let's jump into your second question, Ed.
Sure. So this one's about building a team. So I'm a good planner, and I'm not afraid to invest in scaling for growth. And I'd like to build a team of 2 or 3 content creators and virtual assistants. So what should I keep in mind so I do that effectively and efficiently? I don't want to burn through cash without a good return.
Yeah. The biggest thing that we do when we hire people, and we've had a couple different goes at this, we've been building teams now for quite a while.
Some more
successfully than others. We've definitely hired the wrong people at times. So we've failed at this miserably. So we're going to pass that on to you. Yeah. And then we've also succeeded. Recently our team is just on all cylinders clicking, and it's because of all the lessons we've learned. So I think the biggest thing is, number one, you've got to hire, especially virtual assistants. You want to get people on ability and attitude, not necessarily the exact skill set. You want people definitely to have the skills for the job, but we've learned more and more that as you hire people, it's more you're giving them multiple tasks than you're creating a job description. We all get lost in the corporate world and the real world of, I have a secretary and this person answers the phone and this person does this, and I have a marketing guy and he does the marketing coordinator. Well, we have people on our content team. One person does the audio visual and edits things, but the other person is like the writer or the transcriber, right? But then they go back and they check each other. So they're taking on editing roles. We were going to hire one person for social media, but then we learned, well, wait a minute, the video person's already dealing with YouTube and things like that. Let's just let that person go and share videos on Facebook and deal with that kind of sharing. But then this other person can take our text sharing, like our tweets and things like that, tweetables for our podcast. And we're starting to figure out that if you just hire good people first, then you can give them the tasks as you go. And then the second thing I would say about hiring, and this is something we've learned the hard way, is there's a really bad thing in building a team called single point sensitivity. You've got to have redundancy in case somebody goes down, somebody's sick. You've got to have multiple people that can do the same job in a pinch, or at least train somebody up real quick if you need to replace somebody. We had an employee that was with us, and she left to go to another job, and it left us in a horrific bind because she was basically doing everything for us. And at that point, we were like, okay, never again. So now we try to hire, we create redundancy. We have 2 or 3 people that at least know the basics of doing each job so that they can jump in if somebody fails. So when you hire people, hire their backup as fast as possible, and always be training, doubling up on your training to make sure that you're not in that single point sensitivity situation. Yeah,
that makes a lot of sense. Thank you.
Yeah, I would say the most important thing for me is systems and procedures. You have to have 100% rock solid systems and procedures in place. When you hire someone and you start training them, get them to make a procedure for everything. We basically have a procedures manual for every business. So if
and our house.
And our household stuff. So if somebody quits or, heaven forbid, is in a terrible accident or something happens, we have a way to train someone easily and quickly. The way that I do this most of the time is with videos. So I do a lot of screen capture videos showing my assistants what I want them to do. From the video, they create a document to go into the procedures manual,
which is basically a bulleted list or a checklist.
And that's there forever. So if there's ever a question, we have a library of videos that they can go back and watch, so I don't have to constantly answer the same questions over and over.
We treat every task in our life now, Ed, like an airplane. The pilot, when he lands and is ready to take off, they do a checklist every time. He knows how to fly the plane, but that pilot is going to get the checklist out, and they're going to go through it every time. We have that in everything. We have a personal assistant at home now who does all of our housekeeping, grocery shopping, takes care of the cars, anything, makes our appointments and stuff like that. We have this huge book. I'm looking at it right now. It's like a 3-ring binder right behind me. And like everything in our house, like inside of our drawers, everything, we labeled it when we were training this person. God forbid if something happened and that person left, our single point sensitivity is protected because we could bring someone in and within 24 hours, they would know how to do everything. Because it's in a book, it's a daily task list. If they can't figure it out, they can open the drawer and say, underwear goes here. You know what I mean? So like we have everything in place to protect us so we don't have to just retrain. And if you hire good people and then you hand them good checklists, you can just roll forward in your business.
That makes a ton of sense.
So going into your team building, number one, it's always about good people, not necessarily the most qualified. Okay. And then have hardcore procedures to make sure that you get them done. Another thing, too, that I think we've learned lately is you've got to trust people when you're building a team for online business. Like half of our team is in Manila in the Philippines, And we're not able to watch them and go check on them and do those things. So like a lot of times I just tell them the result that I want. And I say, you guys figure out how to do it, but make a video and make me a checklist so that we know how it's done. I don't create all the checklists for our people. We put that responsibility on them. We trust them to do it. You know, if they get it 80 to 90% what I would have done myself, I'm cool with that. We'll improve it as we go. But trust the people that you hire to do things. Don't micromanage it. There's no reason to build a team if you're going to spend all your time managing your team. Okay?
Yeah, I mean, the trusting them and asking them to kind of help with building their own SOPs or whatever, that helps you and them.
For sure.
Because, you know, feeling trusted just, you know, increases loyalty and everything. So
and motivation.
Great.
Yeah. It's a much better way to do it. That was one of the biggest mistakes we made at first was we will tell you how to do everything and then you're just the robot that goes and does it. That was wrong. The best way to do it is this is the result I want. Let's work together to figure out the best way to get there. The best way to get there may be Shane and Jocelyn get out of the way and just let us do it. The kids are starting a YouTube channel, Isaac and Anna, and I have literally done nothing on it. I've just said, run with it, guys. This is what I want it to look like. You figure it out. And it's been awesome. So good stuff.
That's
Cool. All right, Ed, I think we've got time for maybe one more quick question that we can get in here at the end of the show.
All right, sounds good. So my last question deals with reliable contract help. So we talked about your actual team of assistants, but in my first 2 learning years, I made a couple of bad choices in hiring like web development contractors and integration services. So I tried to use forums of membership sites that I joined. So I benefit from word of mouth referrals, and it works sometimes, but other times it did not. So what should I keep in mind going forward to find great help?
Well, first of all, I would recommend if you are looking at, say, like Upwork or something like that, just have a budget in mind for sure. Don't try to choose the cheapest person. We've done that before. It does not usually work out well.
Yeah.
I would say also to, rather than listing a job listing and having people respond to it, look through their profiles instead. Look for specific keywords. For instance, if you have a forum software and you're using, say, BBPress, for example, search for BBPress. Look for people who are experts in that particular, thing that you're looking for, whatever it is. So look for people who do very specific things. Go over with them at the beginning what your expectations are. I had one recently where we were redesigning a page on a website, and the person redesigned it for us, but then they wanted to come back and charge us extra because we asked for like 2 or 3 changes, and they were very minor changes. I thought that it should have been included in the original price, and then the person did the changes, and then they were asking for more money. So just make sure that you go over all of your expectations up front. What is included, what is not included, and make sure that everyone's on the same page on that. That would be my best advice for you.
And also, too, do small jobs first before you hire anybody for a big job. That's something that I see a lot of people make the mistake of. They'll go out and say, I want a completely new website. And they'll hire someone, and then they'll pay them up front everything, and then they get terrible results. What should have happened was maybe, hey, could you create me a sales page? This is all I want. And do a mock-up for me, a PDF. I'll pay you $100 to do that. You'd rather see the $100 and see that mock-up and lose it if you don't hire that person than to pay $500 up front and get terrible work, Kind
of like a pilot to show that they show they get it.
Exactly. Yeah. One time I was going to get a plugin made for BuddyPress, right? So I got 3 developers to make me a very simple stripped down version of what I wanted and just let me install it and see if it worked, right? Before I went in and said, now I want this to appear here, here, and here. I want it to do this, this, and this. I let them all do it. I paid them all whatever their fee was. It was a very minor job. It was like a day of coding. But then I looked at the best one and I said, this is the guy I want. And that allows you to kind of get a feel for it before you put down all the money. Also, too, never, ever pay in full. There's a big argument here, between contractors and people like, well, I want to be paid up front. I deserve it. Well, no, you deserve to be paid half, and then I deserve the right to get out of this.
Well, I think it
if I don't
depends
want
on how big of a job it is. I mean, if it's $100 or less, then you can pay them
Exactly.
up front. But, if you're doing a really large job, I have been burned with this before. Do not pay it in full up front. And if someone insists on that, find a different contractor
Yeah.
because there's no reason to pay for a full amount, say if it's over like $500 or more up front.
Milestones are important because that keeps everybody going forward, and it makes sure that they don't, they lose their urgency when they've got all your money.
Yeah, and if you make it more balanced like that in terms of balanced risk and balanced commitment, then it just kind of sets it up for more long-term revenue for them down the road.
Exactly.
Yeah, for sure. It's really a win-win. And, like I said, people who want to do business with you will be willing to do that. So we got to wrap this up. We're about out of time for today. But before we go, we always ask our guest, what is the one thing that you will work on, say, in the next 24 to 48 hours based on what we talked about today?
I will look for and sign up for 2 live events to help with the influencer side of things. So thanks for that advice.
Awesome. And make sure you put that in the action forum, and we will get in there and help you take action on that and hold you accountable. Okay, brother?
Will do. Thank you.
All right, Ed, thanks for being on the show today.
Thanks, guys. Really appreciate your time and your support, and I look forward to some no sugar guidance going forward. So thanks.
You will get it, brother. I'll see you in the forums.
Okay, thanks.
What a great call with one of our Flip Your Life community members. We'd love to have you in our Flip Your Life community as well. If you'd like to become a member of the Flip Your Life community, head over to fliplifestyle.com/flipyourlife, and we can help you with your online business too.
All right, next we are going to move into the Can't Miss Moments segment of our show, and these are moments that we were able to experience that we might have missed if we were working at 9-to-5 jobs still.
This week's Can't Miss Moment is actually a little trip down memory lane for us. One of the things that we have a lot more of now that we have our online business is time. We have time to do things that we never did before. One of those things is just kind of reminisce. We've got time to kind of stop and smell the roses, maybe look back at old pictures, just old videos, anything from the past. When life was such a rush working our normal job, we never had time to sit and do that. We just threw all of our keepsakes into a box, but now we've kind of got time to do that. So Jocelyn got a new filing cabinet for our office just for, all kinds of things that we had laying around in piles. And we've been going through that, and we stumbled across a love letter, I guess. Is this what you would call it, Jocelyn?
Yeah, and if you know us very well, if you listen to us for very long, we're not a very romantic sort.
Well, yeah, we're not like we say we got lots of no-mance instead of lots of romance. But
I guess back in like 99 when you wrote this, maybe
right.
maybe things were different.
Back in our college days when I was trying to woo Jocelyn off of her feet, I wrote her love letters, probably out of necessity because I couldn't even afford to buy a greeting card. So I actually, we were stumbling across this, and we thought this was absolutely hilarious, what I wrote to her on Valentine's Day in 2001. And I wanted to read it to you on air just so you guys could get a laugh with us. So, I had drawn a picture of a bee on the front, and it said, "Will you be my Valentine?" And this is straight up like a handwritten, hand-drawn kind of old school card. And inside of it, it said, "Someday I will have lots of money to buy you really neat gifts and even a real card. But right now, I'm so poor that I have to be creative. I hope you like your Valentine's Day card. I love you, Shane." So we thought that was just so funny looking back that we were so broke back in the day.
This was actually 2001.
This was 2001. So we were handwrite. So we had romance all the way up to 2001.
That's pretty impressive.
That's pretty impressive, actually. And then we got married. And it was romance. Yeah, no mance. Who needs it? But this card reminded us kind of where we had been and where we are now, and it really put just things in perspective where we've gotten to.
Yeah, I don't know that we buy a whole lot of gifts or cards now, but for those of you who know about the love languages, there's a book out there. I think it's called the 5 Love Languages. And one of them is gifts, and gifts is the lowest on our love languages, both of us. So
no, we don't buy a lot of gifts, but we could if we wanted to. And that's kind of what the difference here is. We've actually been talking lately, when Jocelyn and I first got married, we bought the cheapest rings we could find. I mean, it was just something to put on our fingers basically for a couple $100, few $100. And Jocelyn actually has been talking about like upgrading our rings. So I'm not walking around in a $30 silver ring I got off eBay. And she's not got her, couple $100 engagement ring that we picked up back in the day. So, but it's just cool now to see back when we were hand drawing cards. And now we're talking about, upgrading to actual diamond rings instead of not.
Well, we have diamonds. It's just some of them
very
are
small
missing.
And they've fallen out and broken. So that's our can't miss moment for this week. Just a trip down memory lane, being able to stop and smell the roses a little bit. And we thought you guys would get a kick out of that love letter I wrote, Jocelyn.
Before we go, we like to close every one of our shows with a verse from the Bible. Today's verse comes from Proverbs chapter 10, verse 2. And the Bible says, "Tainted wealth has no lasting value." Keep that in mind while you're building your online business, guys. Always treat every customer with honesty and fairness.
That's all the time we have for this week. As always, guys, thanks for listening to the Flipped Lifestyle Podcast. And until next time, get out there, take action, do whatever it takes to flip your life. We'll see you then.
Bye.
Man, this has been a common theme lately. People have been telling us that. They're like, I love it when Jocelyn says bye. A guy the other day was like, I just love it when she goes bye, and he's like, it's like my friend waving on their porch or something like that. That's great.
It's so good. It's so sincere and angelic. I love it.
Awesome, man. Thank you for listening to this best of edition of the Flipped Lifestyle Podcast. We would love to help you take your next steps toward your goals. We have a free online business quick start course over at our website at flippedlifestyle.com. This course will help you set big goals and make them happen, find and validate your ideas today, and help you identify and find your perfect customers. Our online business quick start guide is a free resource, and you can get it right now over at flippedlifestyle.com. That's FLIPPED lifestyle.com. Head there right now and download your free resource today.